At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes. Your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks. Sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Wednesday edition of Eye on the Hawks. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell here inside the DePaco studios at Broadcast Park. Director Erica running the show as we look ahead to another West Coast swing for the Hawkeyes, 6-3, 4-2 in the Big Ten as they go to USC, number 17 team in the new college football playoff rankings. Hawkeyes coming in at number 21. As always, if you're watching this on the Iowa News Now YouTube channel, we appreciate it. Tons of extra content there that you can dive into throughout the week, including all of our interviews with players on Tuesday, and all of the post-game stuff will be up there as well. And, of course, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're also there, Spotify, Apple, wherever you do your podcasting. Lots to get to today, of course. Before we head to USC, we'll take a look at a forecast that maybe makes you want to stay in Iowa in November. Imagine that. We'll take a look at what Rebecca's got for us. TJ Hall's our Hawkeye Highlight. Heading home this weekend to California. Kid from Fresno having a career year in the Iowa secondary. And we'll break down what USC does on offense and defense and what the Hawkeyes are prepping for. But we tee it up courtesy of Pin Seekers to start things off because the narrative is already out there. Heading to the West Coast, not kind to Kirk Ferentz and company during his 27 years in Iowa City. In fact, last year was the latest example of it. Out of a small sample size, going to UCLA and losing a game that I don't think anybody expected them to lose. But talking to Bo Stevens and Logan Jones earlier this week, they said that they've been told, and they agree, game might have been lost before they got out there. May not have been, though, just because of the travel itinerary. Let's hear from them and Coach Ferentz.
Going through that last year, going to UCLA, does it help just having that rep, so to speak, of going out west in the middle of November and playing a game, and it's not a bowl game to head out there?
Yeah. Coach Ferentz has mentioned that he thought we lost that game before we got out there. It's just because we weren't ready. We were preparing right, but we just weren't ready for it. And it's just a mentality of we got to be prepared, we got to be ready and ready to play whenever we're called upon. And so not make it too big in our heads, just play another game.
When you say not ready to play, what do you mean specifically?
Yeah, it's just kind of like a mentality thing. I think we do a great job of preparation throughout the week and all that stuff, but if you're not ready to go and like mentally in the right space, just, ready to get after it when it's time to compete, like you just got no shot. And I feel like, that's kind of what we had last year. We just weren't ready to go out there and play mentally, physically, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, just getting over that barrier and understanding, we're playing Big Ten football. If you're not ready to play in any of those games, they're all tough. You're going to get whooped.
Could you sense it in the warm-ups, or does it not know until the game starts?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. I think coaches get a little bit better perspective on things, just the way they see and operate. Sometimes when you're in it, it's a little bit harder to see, but sometimes you really can feel it. I'd say, yeah, you can kind of feel it in the warm-ups, just things like that, just maybe a little bit lackadaisical, things like that.
But I think our issue last year in the UCLA game was more just our approach to the game mentally, in my opinion. They were not a team really interested in running the football a year ago, and I'm not sure they wanted to run the ball against us, quite frankly, until we got into the game, and we didn't show much interest in playing the run. And then, it just became obvious they needed to stay with it. I just didn't think we were ready mentally against UCLA last year in the run game, and probably some other areas too, where we left some things out there. So to me, it was more about our approach going into that game than it was where it got played or who we were playing, but just our mental approach in this team so far. This 2025 team is each and every week, and from my vantage point, they've really prepared well, and they've gone out and competed with the right attitude, and that's what it takes to give yourself a chance to be successful.
So is this a thing? You've got Arizona State 20 years ago. You've got Arizona in 2010. You've got UCLA last year. Those are your three West Coast woe regular season games, you want to call them that, Mountain Time and Pacific Time. But I cited that as a preseason reason of why I thought Iowa would lose at USC, because until I think the words I said, until I see them win out west, I can't do it. But there aren't that many examples of it. Now you got the Rose Bowl game in 2015, that did not go well, or New Year's Day 2016. But the Holiday Bowl, last time they played USC, Amir Smith-Marset and company walked all over the Trojans. So do you buy in that Iowa just has a tough time with the West Coast and Big Ten, traditional Big Ten teams going out west in general? Or is this something more, to Kirk's point, hey, just maybe play run defense next time?
I do buy into it a little bit, and I put these numbers together for our show last night on Iowa's News Now, that this season the 4 West Coast teams are 8-3 against the traditional Big Ten teams from either the Central or East Coast, for the sake of Rutgers and Maryland. So I think there is something there. Obviously, it has something to do with the fact that there's some great teams out there. You know, when it is USC and Oregon this year, of course the winning percentage is going to be good. Except one of those losses is Oregon losing to Indiana at Autzen Field. Nevertheless, I do think that there is something to just the travel time. And I was trying to ask the players that yesterday what it is, why teams do struggle. I was trying to tell them, I'm not projecting it on you that you're going to struggle, but just why is it that so many teams struggle? And nobody would give me really a straight answer. They would just say, well, you know, some teams just use it as an excuse. And I'm like, I get it, but I do think there is something to it. I just haven't figured out what it is. If it's just, you know, that much longer on a plane is hard for teams to like adjust to, or what it is. If 2 hours of a difference, for me, 2 hours of a difference wouldn't be a big deal. It doesn't seem like in my work life, but maybe if you're a college football player at a high level, maybe 2 hours of time difference does make a change.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a Kirk Ferentz program thing. You know, you cited all the games, but it's still such a small sample size, right. Especially before last year. It was like 5 years beforehand, you know, with the Holiday Bowl being like 6 years ago. It's a thing, though, in general, right? Like, Washington came to Wisconsin and lost. I mean, Oregon was a little hurt, but, you know, did they play up to their ability in the passing game? Maybe not. If you look in the NFL, if you go cross country, like those teams tend the spread against the spreads are usually in the favor of the home team. So I do think the travel impacts it. Now, why last year they weren't ready for it? Was it the travel? Who knows? It doesn't seem like anyone can put a finger on it. Maybe it's something like when you're in the moment, you don't know that it's totally off, and then once you do, you don't know what caused it. I do think the bowl games, though, are a little different. We were talking before the show. You know, if you lump the Arizona Insight Bowls, you get blown out by Oklahoma 31-14, but you beat Missouri in a game that they were ranked 12th and you were unranked. When you're out there a week, I think it's a little different. You get acclimated, and it's just kind of business as usual. But anytime a team travels, I've been saying it on the picks, and they haven't always come right. You know, like, again, Washington lost to Wisconsin this past weekend, but like you said, Indiana beat when they went on the road. It's not like this is guaranteed to happen. I do think is an impact to teams.
Yeah, jet lag's a real thing.
Yeah,
anybody who's flown knows that's a real thing, and it does sound like, talking to Matt Weitzel, the SID at Iowa, no government shutdown impacts on charter flights to Los Angeles. So it sounds like the Hawks will be okay when they take off Friday, but that's not an easy thing to go out of your time zones. You know, I don't think it's a 2 hour difference, not necessarily the hour difference, but it's, you get off a plane and you're groggy after being on a plane, and just that general physiological impact. Now go play football in a really demanding physical game for 3.5 hours on a night's sleep where you're not in your own bed, and the routine's just a little bit different. Like, yeah, go see if you're at your best there. Now, you know, are there factors from last year where, listen, that 2010 Arizona team, Nick Foles, like, that was a good team. Arizona State team, I believe Andrew Walter was the starting quarterback. That was a really good team too. Andrew Walter played in the league for a little bit. You know, last year were they underestimating UCLA like everybody did for quite a bit? You know, who's to say? I don't know. To Kirk's point, like, yeah, that was a team that didn't run the football that we thought they were going to play really well against. UCLA ran the football as well as they ran it during Deshaun Foster's tenure there, which wasn't that long, but there's your big sample. And then things just get super sideways when Brennan Sullivan gets hurt and there's 3 turnovers, and you've got to have Jackson Stratton try to pull up the bootstraps and get things done, and damn near did. It's never one thing, but it's an interesting variable. You know, they're not flying to every game. They bust to Madison, you know.
And that bus ride is probably the same amount of time as the flight. I mean, I flew out to L.A.
Sure.
one. It's like 3.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
The bus ride would be about 3 hours.
It's different going through northeast Iowa and southwest Wisconsin on a bus. It's a beautiful country up there, especially this time of year. But you're not, you know, in a pressurized cabin getting off. You know, all these little physiological things that can factor in. But also, like, you got to show up and do the job, and it's never one thing. There's a lot of variables, but now that it's an offer in the regular season and still is, and you've got a fresh example in your mind, of course it becomes a capital A thing, capital T trademark on social media and everywhere else. That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, and when you mentioned those Arizona games back in the day, like people forget too, when Arizona came up in 2009 to Kinnick, they lost 27-17.
Yeah, 24-14, 27-17, something like that.
I got it up. It's 27-17,
Okay,
and then when
gotcha.
Arizona State came in 2003, it was 21-2. You know, like they didn't play very well when they had to travel. I do think travel makes an impact. Yeah. I was also interested too to look at Hayden Fry's record out west. I looked it up, and there was way more Western games back then, just with home and homes with Colorado. And I counted Colorado, and I counted the Sun Bowls in El Paso just because they're in the Rocky Mountains.
Mountain time, Pacific time.
Yeah. So his record was 6-8-1 with one tie. So, but there were like 6 or 7 bowl games out there, which I think Kirk Ferentz has been to 3 out west. Just kind of interesting to see how many more times they played out west in the 80s and 90s compared to when Kirk took over. It was interesting to say the least.
More Florida trips.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
There's only so many blooming onions.
There was 2 Florida trips for Hayden.
Exactly, yeah.
How many Florida games, I mean, I know that bowl games is a little bit different, but how many has Kirk coached in?
Florida games?
Yeah.
Ooh, so it would have been 2 Outback Bowls in 03, Capital One Bowl 05. They played Florida like 3 times in the Outback Bowl.
Yeah.
South Carolina, it had to be close to 8 or 9.
The point I was going to get to is just like the record is probably quite a bit better in Florida games, or if you look at East Coast games. And I mean, it's not a 2-hour time change, but it's a 1-hour time change, and the travel time is probably about the same going to Florida as it would be going to California. So like,
they're bowl games though. Again, you've got they're not flying to New York for a pinstripe bowl against BC and turning around and playing Saturday night. I do think just having time to settle in, it makes a big difference when you're doing your above average travel itinerary.
I think the Florida Bowl record might be close, not as great as you think when you think they lost to Tennessee twice in the Tax Slayer and the Citrus,
lost
Kentucky,
to
lost to Florida twice in a couple of those bowl games.
Lost to Missouri.
But they have I bet it's around 500.
Right.
Without having the
they do always have at least one East Coast road trip or flight trip a year when it comes to Maryland, Rutgers, or Penn State.
They're like 8-1 since Rutgers and Maryland joined the Big Ten. But again, it's Rutgers and Maryland compared to USC. Although this is the first time they're playing them since the bowl game. When you look at the West Coast trip, Stanford, Oklahoma, a ranked Missouri team.
They have not lost to Rutgers since I believe they're perfect all time against Rutgers still. And have they lost to Maryland since they joined the Big Ten?
2014, they lost on the road to Maryland. Okay. That's their one loss on that East Coast, excluding Florida Bowls.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for Pin Seekers for teeing it up with us and starting things here in Eastern Iowa, looking at the West Coast, and we'll keep our eyes out there as we break down USC by the numbers. Again, 7-2, 5-1 in the Big Ten, sitting 17th in the college football playoff rankings. They have been a pick that maybe Lincoln Riley would get things going again and set themselves up for getting into the 12-team playoff here. And you see the offensive numbers; they are as good as it gets in the country, and certainly in the Big Ten. Averaging more than 200 yards a game on the ground, more than 500 total, 300 through the air. That's 10th in the country, and scoring just under 40 a game. That's 7th in the nation. Defensively, maybe some opportunity, but still a far cry from where they have been, really getting short up there. Here's what the Hawkeye defense and quarterback Mark Gronowski are expecting from the Trojans.
I think first off, they have a great run game. I believe they might be leading the Big Ten in rushing or something like that, but they got great running backs. The guy that they got in now, he's doing a great job, and then their quarterback I feel like is really what makes them go. He could scramble a little bit, and he'll throw it up and let his receiver make plays. So we just got to do our best job limiting them, keeping them in the pocket, getting hands on receivers.
What did you learn against Oregon and heck of a running team there too that you can use as lessons against another great run team out there?
Yeah, just maintaining leverage is the biggest thing. Whether you're keeping the ball on your inside shoulder, which is what DBs do, we always got to keep it on our inside shoulder. And there's a few plays where we let it outside, and we can't do that. we got to be better at that, and we will be. But it doesn't come down to effort with those plays. I think guys are always bringing effort. Guys are running to the ball, sprinting to the ball. So you can't fault anyone's effort there. It's just little mistakes that are correctable, and we'll correct.
They got a lot of guys that are fast. They move really well, and they're really multiple. They like to throw a lot of different things at you on base, down, and D. I mean, they run every single coverage you can see, and every single coverage that you can think of. But then on third downs, they really buckle down and run a lot of man coverage. So we got to make sure our guys are winning, and I'm throwing good catchable balls that we can let our playmakers make plays.
Which side of the ball do you think could give Iowa more trouble out west? The offense, last time they were out on the field, 12 plays, 93 yards against a damn good Ducks defense to take the lead, or you worried more about the defense that maybe couldn't shut the door there at the very end, and going up against a great passing game, a great quarterback, and to their credit too, King Miller, who was the number 3 guy in the backfield for USC entering this season. He has been outstanding for the last month, and that is a USC team that's 4th in the Big Ten in rushing. But again, when you're putting up 200 plus on the ground, doesn't matter where you're in the rankings, you're moving the ball efficiently. Which aspect maybe worries you guys a little more?
Certainly the offense is more of the problem for me when you look at USC. You've got Mekhi Lemon, a wide receiver right now, who's 3rd in the country in receiving yards, has 7 touchdowns this year. They've got at least probably 2 or 3 first-round draft picks on that team. I don't know about this year or future years, but Mayava is a great quarterback, another quarterback in the Heisman conversation. Is this 3 potential Heisman winners that they've played now with Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza that I was going to have to face this season? I mean, he's obviously been outstanding this year. Bishop Fitzgerald is a defensive back for the Trojans who is tied for the nation lead with 5 interceptions this season, one of the best defensive backs in the country. But I do think that they are susceptible to the run right now, and I think that that's where we're probably going to see Iowa really go to town on Saturday, is in the run game, one of those games where you could see possibly 2 running backs getting up close to 100 yards, maybe 2 getting 70 or 80 yards. Mark Gronowski potentially having a big game on the ground. I think that's where Iowa's really going to exploit USC.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and it's kind of weird saying, I have confidence in the Iowa offense, right? We've been talking about this. It's a good feeling. I do think, when you look at the team you just played and the team that you're going to play, I felt more confident in Iowa's offense moving the ball against USC's defense than Oregon's, and they were able to put some good drives together. Mekhi Lemon, Pro Football Focus has him as the 10th best player on their big board right now. So, they don't have the other receiver in there, but just wanted to point that out. And, yeah, the rushing game, I do expect a better effort and a better performance from Iowa there. But like you said, King Miller, 636 rushing yards. Wayman Jordan has another 576, combined 10 touchdowns. You're thinking about the 1-2 punch. I know Oregon had a 1-2-3 punch last week, but you're kind of wondering if it's the same thing, especially not to spoil Rebecca's forecast coming up, but it might be a little rainy again. Maybe that limits Jaden Maeva's, his arm in the passing game, and maybe that slows that down a little bit. So I would say that, and it's kind of weird to say that, right? I just, in general, being you have confidence in the offense, maybe a little worried, even though I still think this is a good Iowa defense. These are 2 high-powered offenses, so they're going to, that we've played back-to-back weeks, they're just going to give you trouble.
And we're growing more confident in that offense, I think, the Iowa offense, I think, as the weeks go by. Again, what they did to Oregon late in the game last week when they went on that 93-yard drive to end the game and take the late lead. I mean, you do grow more and more confident in Gronowski's offense every week.
Yeah, it should be said, Wayman Jordan's probably not going to be back. He's been hurt since the Michigan game, hence King Miller rising. So it's more – Wayman Jordan was a Heisman candidate through the first month because he was running through anybody and everybody. But, boy, King Miller behind an experienced offensive line. Watch 77 on tape. Their guard who pulls all the time, and they can use that to open up the run, or sometimes they'll pull him, think you're going run, and they're going the other side with a screen. I think they ran 11 screens against Michigan, maybe a similar tactic and approach and philosophy coming up against an Iowa defense that we know is hungry and is going to be flying towards the ball if they can take advantage of that, even though they love going downfield with Lane and Lemon and McCree, their tight end, who, boy, talk about a red zone target. He had a heck of a catch against Notre Dame. They got a freshman in there whose name escapes me right now, Tanook Hines, who had a big game against Notre Dame as well. But if you're a freshman, you're playing in USC's wide receiving corps, congratulations to USC because you've got another fantastic kid going there. But, yeah, Mekhi is as good of a receiver as they are going to see this year, and what a test for TJ Hall or Deshaun Lee or Lutmer or whoever's lining up there in the rest of that secondary.
We had a couple of young running backs get in against Northwestern, too, because King Miller got a little banged up, but it sounds like he's going to play. So just a lot of weapons over there for USC, and hopefully, Iowa doesn't have that problem where they're coming on the field and not ready to play in the Coliseum.
And we've got a pretty fully healthy running back room at Iowa right now, right? I mean, Kamari Moulton's healthy, Xavier Williams is healthy, Nathan McNeil, no issues. I mean, it's a Jazz Patterson we've seen in there a few times. Like, this is an Iowa running back room that is at least in place to potentially exploit a pretty mid to low level USC rush defense.
I was going to ask this on Sunday, but from last week, did you want to see a little more carries for Jazz? I think he had, 2 or 3 carries. Mm-hmm. How did you like that split? I mean, I love Kamari Moulton, but
they rotate effective every game and have been rotating every game for forever. So it's whoever gets in there, and I'm not wondering, like, why didn't Nathan get a carry against an incredible rush defense or anything like that? I mean, they move the ball about as well as you could ask for on the ground, given a 39-yard loss rush because of a bad snap. 16 yards lost on 2 sacks, but averaged close to 4 yards a carry. I'm like, that's...
I just asked because Jazz had 2 really effective runs, and then I don't remember seeing him the rest of the game.
I think what might be... This thought just came to me. I wonder if Jazz's carries are getting diminished a little bit this year because of the way that Mark Gronowski runs. Like, Jazz has kind of been that power back that needs to push through the line, and a lot of times in those short yardage situations this season, either at the goal line or at midfield, if it's a 4th and 1, we've used Mark Gronowski to just push through, whereas in the past it might have been a Jazz Patterson trying to pick up 2 or 3 yards. So I don't know. I really wonder if that's the reason that Jazz hasn't been seen as much, because you have that in Gronowski a little bit.
Well, he's been banged up too, so I think that's probably a factor as well. But yeah, I mean, he's your 40 carries, and I think a lot of those have come let's see. I mean, he had 11 against Iowa State, 10 against UMass. So he's played the last 3 games he's been in, which is Rutgers, then was banged up, Minnesota and Oregon. 13 carries for. I mean, he's getting good pops certainly, and had some good shine against Rutgers. But yeah, I mean, they've got such a stable of running backs that it's easy. Terrell Washington was up there at the beginning of the year, and I don't know if Terrell's had a carry in 3-4 games off the top of my head. It's a good problem to have. You got a stable of running backs. You've got a well-established top running back in Kamari Moulton. Was talking to him this week about a few weeks ago. Omar was talking about getting him to slow down, which is not the advice you'd anticipate being given to a running back. But he talked about how in that room they talk about slow to, fast through. So give your line time to set things up and set up the blocks. And then once you see your seam, go for it. Jeremiah Love does that so well. It's what makes him as good as he is for Notre Dame, and he had a lot of success against this USC defense. So we'll see if whether it's Kamari or Jazz or whoever's back there, Mark Gronowski running QB powers, there's opportunities certainly to get in there, whoever it is, because, again, it is an Iowa team that knows how to run the ball pretty darn well, all things considered, against some really good defenses. Well, we've talked about the offense and what they could maybe do against USC's defense, but again, a tough task for the Iowa defense against a potent USC offense, and we told you all the names already, but TJ Hall has risen to the occasion more often than not throughout 2025. Certainly took lumps early in his career, but the kid from Fresno heading home this weekend to play in his home state. It's still like 3 hours away from home, but shorter drive than most for his home games, getting some family there, trying to get as many tickets as possible. TJ Hall, and in the middle of a career year, one of the top PBU guys in the country. He is our Hawkeye Highlight. Let's spend a few minutes with TJ Hall and some of his conversation with Owen on Tuesday.
You've had an opportunity to go out to California and play around in your home state before, but to do it as a starter in your senior year where everything's starting to kind of really click for you, what does that mean, especially just knowing how far you've come at this point?
Yeah, it means a lot. Just getting back home to play, and my family, they can all see me. I have a lot of people who've never actually seen me play in person, just on TV, so that's going to be exciting, and just wanted just to represent, my last name and my family and everybody who's been along with me along this journey. So that's going to be awesome.
Do you have family that travel out to Iowa for games, or is this kind of like your only opportunity once you know the schedule?
Yeah, sometimes. I got aunts, uncles, my grandma, they always come for a couple games or games here and there. I know a lot will be here for senior night. But going back to Cali, it'll probably be a lot of people. It's the first time for a game. So, yeah, like I said, I can't wait. It's going to be a great opportunity. Hopefully, it should be great weather as of right now, that great Cali weather that I get to enjoy for a little bit. So.
Do you miss the Cali weather when it starts getting cold like this?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely miss it. But, no, I've been embracing the cold a little bit. You just gotta tell yourself it's all mental. It's not cold.
When you were a kid, did you have any exposure to Iowa, or do you know where Iowa was? Do you know anything about the Hawkeyes as a child?
Not really. No. I joke around with some of my teammates. I don't remember learning about Iowa going through elementary. I feel like you learned a little something about all 50 states. But no, as I got older, you just see him on TV, and you might not recognize him at first, and then you realize, okay, that's the Iowa Hawkeyes. Just seeing a bunch of games, them playing, and realizing, man, they always play hard. They're always, most of the time, in the game. So I wasn't exposed a lot, but as I grew older, I got to see a little bit.
What's the first that you heard from them, or when did you first start hearing from the Hawkeyes, or think about coming out to the Midwest to play?
The first time they hit me was summer. Going into my senior year, I believe so. That was the first time I think Tyler Barnes and then Coach Parker reached out, and then actually came out here for the Penn State game 2021 when they rushed the field, and then committed a little more towards signing day, kind of a couple weeks before that.
Was that rushing the field experience something? I mean, it seems that's a great recruiting opportunity if you're.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. That was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, just seeing how loud the crowd was, the environment, and then meeting with all the coaches, the players. It was like a true family here.
How different is the energy or the vibes from LA to Iowa City?
It's real. LA is really more city, fast-paced, bunch of traffic. Man, it takes you an hour, 2 hours just to get somewhere that might have been 30 minutes. But out here, it's more I would say it's really like a college town. Even where I was from in Fresno, you don't see kids on mopeds or stuff like that. You kind of just see them walking around or in their cars. So I like how it's real college town vibe out here.
Yeah, TJ Hall, well-documented struggles in 22 against Nebraska, getting thrown in there for Coop and a couple other spots there. But, man, it seems like since he had that crazy pick against Maryland last year, one-handed kind of over the shoulder, he had some great plays against Missouri, and since then has just become not just the best defensive back on this team. He's as good as anybody in the Big Ten right now.
Yeah, and he's a guy we didn't really pick this award or give it out at the end of the season or anything, but if there were an award for comeback player of the year or something, TJ Hall would certainly be in the running for that, just because of what he's been through the first few seasons and all that he's done this year, just being a guy who has had some injury issues when he was a sophomore, come out this year and not just been a serviceable defensive back for Iowa, but has been, as you say, one of the best in the Big Ten and one of the better ones in the country when it comes to pass breakups.
And when the season was starting, when we were talking to the coaches and the players before camp, everyone was raving about TJ Hall. And then you never want to 100% buy into that until you see it on the field, and he has been unequivocally the number one corner on the team. You could say Lutmer, if he played a little more corner, just as good, or has more potential since he's a younger guy. But can't say enough about how he bounced back. And I remember, like you said, people were pitchforks, in the Nebraska game a few years ago, and sing a different tune now. So really happy for him to play that way, and I hope next spring he'll get a chance in the NFL. I was kind of surprised. I was looking for mock drafts. Hard to find one with all the rounds. Yeah, but PFF doesn't have him on the top 400 players. I think he's going to get in there. Yeah. Wow. They have about 6 Hawkeyes right now. I think he's going to his draft stock will move up maybe closer to the start of next year. Yeah. But it's just a slow time for that stuff.
As long as he gets a few more PBUs and maybe 1 or 2 more interceptions this season, I think he'd have a chance to be
he'll have a shot. He'll go to camp.
5th or 6th round guy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we'll say it's such a fickle business there. I think everybody was so high on Jamari Harris. Jamari Harris will get drafted. I don't think he's. I think he's floating around the free agent pool right now after he signed with the Titans there. But it's just a crapshoot sometimes. But how often have we seen a free agent guy find his spot and do just fine?
Who is the 6 Hawkeyes that are on that top 400 right now? Do you recall?
Sure, yeah. Jennings Dunker is rated 34, so right on the cusp of a first-round pick. Logan Jones, 185. Max Llewellyn, 206. Xavier Nwamka, 283. Mark Gronowski 339, and then Drew Stevens at 475.
I'm almost surprised Logan Jones is not higher. He seems like a guy that, just based on reputation at Iowa,
100%.
it seems like that he could be a top 2 or 3 round guy.
Does he have small hands? I know that Tyler Linderbaum wasn't going to have success because his hands weren't big enough.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is silly. I think center too is, when you're looking at offensive linemen in the draft, you're usually looking for those tackles in the higher rounds. So maybe he'll slip, but I do think he has obviously a shot next year to get drafted and then maybe be like the next Tyler Linderbaum.
Bo Stevens will make a team, and Connor Colby got plugged in immediately, and they love him out in San Francisco. And Mason Richmond's getting run, and again, a guy that was a late draft pick. And it's November 12th, and everyone's got the draft figured out, right?
No, I love looking at this because I myself, I'm not going to be able to place players on, and I don't think this is going to be 100% accurate come April next year, but it's a good starting point.
It's interesting to check out right now. And I really do think TJ Hall is the type of guy that should be drafted by a team. I think he's got the body type for it. Same with
Graves too.
Wampa was as low as he was on that list. That he again with just his body type and the skill he's shown, especially late in this year, that he wouldn't be a little higher. So anyway, that's a conversation for April. But nevertheless,
I think it gives you confidence about what this Iowa defense can do against a potent USC offense, because look what they've done against these other potent offenses, against Oregon. And it's rainy and they weren't fully staffed, so to speak, but against Indiana as well. And they've been up to the task. And Cohen's been a steady improvement week after week. Xavier's playing as well as he has in his entire Hawkeye career. Deshaun Lee's improved. Lutmer's been as good as anybody on that defense. Just talked ad nauseum about TJ Hall. I mean, that's got to be confident in that group. I know you're looking for the front four to do a little more than they did against Oregon, but it's a defense that's, again, been playing really well throughout the year against really, really tough opponents.
Yeah. Caden Weegan wasn't on that list, right? I mean, he's a little bit tougher guy to place. Do you draft him as a kick returner? Do you draft him as a receiver?
He's a wild card, I think, in this, But, he wasn't, but, I could see his speed making it on an NFL field, but, does he make it on an offense? You need to find the right team to have a draft pick on just a punt returner, or are they going to work him in, kind of like a slot guy? Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of wild cards, and you heard TJ Hall talk about how excited he is to get back to some good California weather. We'll start to literally and figuratively rain on that parade, but as Rebecca Copeman tells us, maybe Iowa would be the better spot this weekend.
Hey there, guys. It looks like maybe we should have just kept this one in Iowa City. I know last week Kinnick was not kind to us sitting out in the cold and the rain, but apparently going to California is not going to make a huge difference, as it is going to be very rainy and kind of on the cooler side, at least compared to what the temperatures are going to be like here in eastern Iowa on Saturday. Temperatures are going to be just kind of crawling into some low 60s. It's going to be cloudy. It's going to be rainy out at the Memorial Coliseum. So if Hawkeye fans are heading out there, would definitely pack the rain gear, the ponchos, and be prepared. At least it will be warmer than when it was raining last week at Kinnick, but it will likely be in the at least mid 60s, if not upper 60s in Iowa City when that game is going on. So stay warm and pack the rain gear heading out to LA.
We saw USC struggle a little bit in South Bend in a game that got a little rainy there near the end of it last month. So we'll see if Iowa's more recent experience in the rain can maybe help them out on the road. Do the conditions bother you at all? It's just another variable.
I would, if anything, it makes me more confident. If you're a Hawkeye, it would maybe be a little frustrating just to be like, gosh, dang, we got to play another game in, like 2 weeks in a row in the rain. But like Oregon was a good practice round. I mean, you saw what this team is capable of doing in the rain, and so they know at this point what we can do offensively and defensively, even in spite of the rain.
It doesn't bother me much. If I was going there, it would. Just because if I go to LA, I expect to have a beautiful weather. But I think last week it was hard to peg which team the weather would benefit more. I do think the weather hurts USC more just with their passing game and their dynamic receivers. Maybe it slows them down. Maybe the wet ball bounces off someone's hand, But they are a good rushing team too. We talked about that and all the running backs they have in King Miller and just the way they've rushed the ball. I think they've rushed like 4 or 5 times over 200 yards this season against Power 5 opponents. So
they're averaging 200 plus.
Yeah.
Wow.
It'll be tough. So I wonder if it would be a similar game to last week. I do think Iowa will be able to run the ball a little better than they did against Oregon. So limit those possessions, Don't let Maeva get going.
Yeah, and boy, he's shown that he can run a little bit, even on a rough night. In Lincoln a couple weeks ago, he got the legs moving, and heck, he ran down a guy after he threw a pick against Northwestern and made the tackle, forced the fumble, and I'm glad Fox put up the graphic. He's the only quarterback this season to force a fumble. All right.
Huge stat.
Yeah, big stat, big if true. Well, speaking of stats, let's look at our picks for the week and see if we can get these numbers pumped up a little bit, because it's, for most of us, and by most of us I mean just me and Mike, it's been a struggle this year. We're trying to find some momentum, but maybe some opportunities here. Let's start with the game that's going to be on this Friday night on Fox 28, an 8 p.m. kick out west. It's those Oregon Ducks again, this time hosting the Golden Gophers of Minnesota, the number 8 team in the college football playoff rankings. The Ducks are now moving up one spot after beating Iowa, 25.5-point favorites against P.J. Fleck and company. Can Minnesota keep this thing close?
Another former Big Ten West team heading to the West Coast. Minnesota coming off their 6th win of the year. Now bowl eligible are the Gophers, but I think that I might think it a little differently if this were in Minnesota. But there's a chance for a layoff if you're Oregon, but I think, have to take the points in this one and pick Oregon to win big.
This must be the year in Big Ten play that we've had so many of these 20-point spreads. It's kind of wild.
A lot of big spreads.
Yeah, USC's on deck for Oregon. Maybe a little look-ahead factor. Will Sadiq play? I doubt. The receiver will play to carry on more. Will the right tackle be back? I don't know. I still think it won't be much of a game, but let's say a 20-point win for Oregon. So give me the Gophers to cover.
Yeah, Minnesota's coming off a bye. Had an overtime win against a Michigan State team that's sideways and comes to Iowa City next week. I don't know if you guys saw, Michigan State has to vacate wins from 2022, 2023, 2024. So technically that East Lansing trip now counts as a win for Iowa.
Wow.
Fallout from Mel Tucker that just came out today, part of the
So I witnessed live Iowa win last year. I went to the game.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. So that's what you've got there. I'm going to take Oregon to run away with this. Minnesota, we saw had a decent start in Columbus against Ohio State, but it's tough. And I think Oregon, as they get healthier, that's a really, really good team. And Indiana caught them at home, and so I think that takes the perspective down a little bit of like, oh, is Oregon really all they're cracked up to be? I think maybe they flex a little bit here and show you, yeah, they're still pretty darn good. We then move to the big noon kickoff game, Saturday, 11 a.m. on Fox 28, number 18, Michigan, coming off a bye of their own, 11.5-point favorites at Northwestern. Can the Wildcats maybe play a little playoff spoiler against the Wolverines?
Northwestern has been so scrappy this year. Seems like they're just playing it tight, if not beating teams. And Michigan, despite having maybe the best freshman in the country, they've not been real impressive. They're coming off a 5-point win over Purdue, 11-point win over Michigan State. At Northwestern's place, I think that Northwestern could at least keep this one tight.
Games in Wrigley Field. I don't know if that changes it.
Is that right? No, it enforces my opinion even more.
Really? Because I think that will be effectively a Michigan home game. I think there'll be more Michigan fans there than Northwestern fans. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of talk about Northwestern. I know, Mitch, you think they're a pretty solid ball club. I'm not sold. Bryce Underwood's splits on the road are different, but again, like I said, I don't know if this will be a Northwestern home crowd. I'll go Michigan to cover.
I'm going to take Northwestern to cover, but I do think Michigan probably wins this game. Bryce Underwood's just been really inconsistent, and Northwestern runs the ball really well, and I'll be interested to see what they do here. I don't know if they can pull off the win, but I think that's a big spread, and it's already gone down. It was opened at 12.5, so it's already moved a little bit. I'll take Northwestern to cover. That's a tough team. That's a really, really tough Northwestern team there. We then turn to the game that's on CBS 2. We're just going down our own on schedule here at Broadcast Park. Penn State goes to Michigan State, 2:30 kick there on CBS. Nittany Lions a 7.5-point favorite over the Spartans. Again, Penn State is good of a 3-6 team as you're going to find. Can they exercise some demons and not just go to East Lansing, but get a big win over a Michigan State team that, again, that's on their own losing streak and maybe just weeks away from maybe trying to find a different leader for the program?
Two teams they're both 3-6, both on 6-game losing streaks after starting the year 3-0. Technically, this game would have a would dictate which team is technically still in the hunt for making a bowl game this year. Boy, Penn State did just play so close with Indiana, and we're just on the doorstep of a monster upset in that game. But boy, are they 7.5 points better than Michigan State? This is, I don't know, Mike. I want you to make your pick first. I'm still thinking this one over.
And this is the trophy game, right? Land Grant Trophy. Big emotions there. Will Penn State show up? Right? Like, I think each week they've lost another game. I'm thinking, is this team going to quit on their coach? Even though they just got a new coach a couple of weeks ago. Michigan State also has a new quarterback, though. They look pretty decent against Minnesota. I mean, the Nittany Lions, though, should have won that game against Indiana. Yeah. I'm going to go with Penn State.
I think Penn State blows them out. I'll take the Nittany Lions to cover.
A blowout.
Just to give you guys a chance to catch up, if I get this one wrong, I give you Michigan State to keep it close.
How kind of you.
Oh, generous.
All right, Iowa heading west at USC. Trojans are 6.5-point favorites. That 240 kick on BTN. Can Iowa play their own spoiler? Maybe keep some very dim playoff hopes alive. I don't know if a 9-3 Big Ten team is going to get in, but there's been talk of if some things bounce certain ways this weekend in the SEC, then all of a sudden there's a big SEC push of a 9-3 SEC team could get in. Listen, there's going to be some wild arguments over the next few weeks. But can Iowa take care of business, shake off whatever narratives out there, and come back with a win or at least a cover there in Los Angeles?
I think I've picked against Iowa a couple times this year when there's been a sizable spread, and 6.5 seems like a sizable spread to me in a game like this, especially between two ranked opponents that are 4 spots apart in the CFP polls. I've got to take Iowa here to keep it close, if not win this one outright.
I think I'm going to do the same. I think it'll be with the weather and with Iowa's. I think Iowa will be able to dictate some things on offense and kind of limit drives. I don't see a lot of scoring, and hopefully, if Iowa comes out on top, that will be the case, and it'll be hard for USC to get over that spread if that's the case.
This spread surprises me, really. I mean, this feels like a game that should be more like a 1.5, 2.5 point spread, just based on the talent and how close Iowa's kept it with really good teams.
Yeah, it's. I guess the spread doesn't surprise me a lot because it's. We just spent the first 10 minutes of this podcast talking about how teams from the Central Time Zone travel west and have struggles, and maybe there's a little bit of Iowa not having as potent of an offense as USC. Having said all that, I'll take Iowa to cover. Wouldn't be shocked if they go out and win this. I know I picked them preseason to lose out at USC, but Iowa is 5 to 6 plays away from being 9-0. They are so close. You heard Kirk talk in the post game after Saturday that he thinks they're right there with those teams that they've lost to. It's a 4th-ranked game this season for Iowa. They went to Ames, played Indiana, you played Oregon. You're so close. Even though this is on paper probably the toughest of them or one of the toughest because of the travel and going on the road again, I think they can pull it off and maybe keep that march towards 10 wins if you can take care of the business in the bowl game.
Who else is about a few plays away from being 9-0?
Everybody else.
Penn State.
Hey, listen. It's you are your record, but there's a lot of teams out there that are.
Every game's come down to the wire for their losing streak.
That's the fun part about college football, isn't it? You're so close each week, more often than not, and hopefully, even though it'd be heartbreak if it goes on the other side again, you'd rather have it close than be a blowout. You'd rather know you're right there and that you're moving in the right direction. So we'll see how things go. Again, Saturday at 2:40 on BTN for the Hawks. We'll be back here Sunday morning to break everything down, and obviously we won't have sound or anything, or we'll have sound. We won't have our own highlights because we're not flying to LA. Sorry, we need a Saturday off. Would love to. It'd be a lot of fun. But we're not going to be able to do that. But we'll have some post-game sound from Hawkeye Athletics for you, and we'll recap everything Sunday morning. Big thanks to Erica, as always, for running the show here on Wednesdays. From Mike and Owen, I'm Mitch. We will see you not so bright and early, more like Sunday night here on Eye on the Hawks.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. We encourage the volunteer spirit by providing DePaco employees with the tools and resources to help grow our communities and support the causes that matter to us. We believe that giving back not only strengthens the places we call home, but also enhances our overall well-being. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.